I had a little bit of extra time this morning, which is completely rare. I don't know how I managed that. So I decided I'd show you my makeup today. So this is just sort of a general makeup that I've been doing quite a lot recently. Obviously I change the products that I use every single day, so it's never exactly the same. But these are some of the things that I've been reaching for a lot more lately. So I've been going through a bit of a foundation dilemma, and I've been trying a lot of different ones. My skin isn't too bad at the moment, but it's got quite a lot of scarring left over from a few breakouts that I had over Christmas and January, where I just overindulged and ate all the chocolate. So I'm going to use the Yves Saint Laurent Youth Liberator Serum Foundation today, and a lot of people have said they really like this, and I've had it for a long time but never really kind of found the perfect way to use it, but I've been trying it a bit more recently, and I actually really like putting this on my fingers, which is completely weird for me because I'm a big believer in brushes, but there's just something about the texture of this one that just smooths over really nicely with your fingers. I wouldn't say it's got amazing coverage, although it is quite buildable, but because of the moisture in it, it's very hydrating. I find that if I build it up too much, it can look a little bit cakey, but just a light layer of this is enough for me. It's got quite a lot of scent to it. I don't know if it's fragrance, but that's something that always kind of worries me slightly with foundations, because I don't want them to irritate my skin. So if you have quite sensitive skin, probably be aware of that. And then as well, I like to just take what's left on the back of my hand on the brush, just to make sure there's no kind of harsh edges, that everything's blended in nicely. I'm actually filming in natural light today, so if I suddenly go a bit orange, I'm not just getting a bit overexcited with the bronzer, it's just the sun coming out. So onto concealer, and I've kind of been using 3 altogether, and I've just found a nice balance between all of them. So the first one is the Bobbi Brown Corrector. Of course, this is just standard for my everyday makeup, and I just put a dot under each eye just to kind of combat the darker circles under there. And then on top of that, I put the Origins Pantscription, which is just, you know, you all know about it already. It's my favourite under eye concealer, and just sort of pat that in where I need it. And then for the third step of concealer, I've been doing a bit of Lisa Eldridge-esque pinpoint concealing with the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage, and I find this is nice because it's got quite a solid texture. It's not creamy at all, so it's really great for covering up little blemishes, little patches of redness. So I just take that on a really small brush, dab it onto the area I want to cover, and then just pat it in with my fingers. And I find I prefer that than using a lot of concealer all over, just to cover up one little spot. The only thing I don't quite get with this is that it has 2 colours, and you're supposed to sort of mix them together to get the right shade. But I never know how to mix them. If you kind of, I've just been taking one bit and then the other, but it sort of mixes the colours together. So if you have this and you do it in a different way, or if there is a proper way, please let me know. I've got so much redness in my skin at the moment. I think it's just lots of kind of leftover scarring from blemishes that I've had, and just general bad skin at the moment. I don't know what's going on. Although this sort of method of concealing does take a little bit longer, I find it just looks so much more flawless because you've really sort of pinpointed every little blemish and covered it, so your skin looks really quite natural, and then you haven't overloaded it with sort of product either, so it looks a lot fresher. So I'm going to set that down, and I'm really sorry to bore you all again with this product, but it just has to be the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. It's just the one for setting, for luminising, for giving skin radiance, but keeping your makeup on all day. It's just unrivaled. But I've actually been using it slightly differently. I've been using it on this Sigma F25 face brush, which is slightly tapered, and I find it puts a lot less product on it than the Real Techniques powder brush that I've been using before, so it just sort of gives a softer finish, I think, and this brush is just so smooth. So I just pop a really light layer of that on there, maybe a little bit more on my T-zone just to set that down. I don't know if anybody's seen on the Space NK website recently, but Hourglass have actually just brought out ambient lighting blushes, which just look absolutely beautiful, so I really want to get my hands on one of those. The next product I'm going to use is quite relatively new to me, so I'm still getting to grips with actually how to use it properly, but it's the Kevyn Aucoin Sculpting Powder, and you really just need the smallest amount of this. I made the mistake of using way too much the first time, but I've been putting it on this kind of duo fibre brush from Real Techniques, and I find you get a lot less product that way. It's also easier to blend, so I think that's a nice one to use with it. So I just suck my cheeks in and just kind of put it in the hollow there, just to give me a bit of shape to my face. This really is the perfect colour for this if you're fair skinned. I've always struggled to find good contour colours, but it's so cool tone, this brown, it just works really well. And then I also take just a little bit on my temples. And kind of down my nose, just to slim it down a bit. I'm going to use the Frat Boy blush from the Balm, and I've been getting so back into using this. It's just the most sort of creamy textured, super pigmented, beautiful pink peachy blush, and I've actually rediscovered quite a lot of old products that I've had for a while since filming my 2013 favourites, so it kind of really reminded me of all the great things that I already own. And this, I just find, is kind of like a fail-safe blush. If I'm not sure what I'm wearing, if I don't really know what colours to pick, if I go for this one, it just tends to go with anything. And then also from the Balm, it has to be the Mary Lou Luminizer. It's just the perfect highlight. Again, it's just super creamy texture, even though it's a powder, and kind of the glow this gives you is just unrivaled. So next I have quite an exciting product to show you, and this is the Anastasia Dip Brow, which is basically a gel liner for your eyebrows, which I think is just really, really clever. This stuff, however, is super, super pigmented, so you need a really light hand, and I use it on this little synthetic angle brush, which also has a spoolie on them, which is really handy. This is from Crown Brushes, but I just take a little bit on the brush and then pretty much take off most of it on the back of my hand. You can see how pigmented, how much colour that has. So I leave just the tiniest bit on the brush, and then I start on the arch of my brow where I usually like it to be the darkest. So I just use little strokes and build it up. And this gives such an amazing, precise brow. It's such a great product. And then what's left on the brush, I just take through the front part of my brow, because I like that bit to be just slightly lighter. And then if I need to fill in any little gaps, I just take what's left on my hand and just add it to the brush. So brows done, and they're looking a bit scary at the moment, but everything will come together, I'm sure, once I have my eye makeup on. I'm just going to prime my eyes with MAC's Painterly Paint Pot, and I never usually bother with eye primer, but I've really kind of got into using it since I bought this, and I just find it helps my shadows stay on a lot longer. And then onto the exciting bit, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette for my eyes, and whenever I open this I just get so overwhelmed with all the shades in it. There's so many beautiful colours, but I think I'm going to go for more of the brownie shades today. So I think I'm going to start by using Liar all over the lid, which is just a soft sort of taupey brown colour. These eyeshadows are just like butter, they just go on incredibly smoothly. And then I'm going to use a bit of Factory, which is more of a darker, slightly warmer brown, and pop that into the crease of the eye. I think it's really nice how even the darker colours in this palette have this really subtle undertone of kind of pinky purpley in them, which I think is really pretty. And then I'm going to blend that all out with this really big fluffy brush, and I really like doing this step now. I think it just gives kind of more of a soft blended finish to the whole thing. And then I'm going to take the colour Dark Side, which is kind of like this greyish, dark purpley brown, and just sort of use it as an eyeliner by smudging it into the roots of my lashes, just to give them a bit of definition but without looking sort of too harsh like a liquid line. I'm going to just sort of blend the edge of that out into the eyeshadow too. So the next step I've just been unable to skip, and it's curling my lashes, and I was never really into curling my lashes. I just couldn't really be bothered most of the time, but since I got these, this is the new Shurumura S curler, and it's slightly different to the original ones. I have both here. It doesn't have the little kind of side bits, so you don't really get your lashes caught in it, which I always found I did, and you can either just curl the ends or you can go all the way around, and I just find it an easier way to actually curl them with this. So I start at the ends, give it a few squeezes and just move along. And you can just sort of leave it at that and just have a little flicked out corner lash, but I like to take it all the way around. The sun is so bright at the moment, it keeps coming in and going out, so I'm sorry if I'm completely washed out for most of this. But for mascara, I'm going to use the L'Oreal Miss Manga mascara, and I kind of had a little bit of a mini rave about this in the haul that I mentioned it in, but I love it. I just absolutely think it's incredible. It's such a great mascara, and I don't really love a drugstore mascara. I find they kind of are a bit clumpy, or they don't have the greatest brushes, but there's just something about this that I just love. I find it to be quite volumizing rather than lengthening, but that's what I sort of prefer because I've got relatively long lashes anyway, and I don't like to make them too long looking because then I find they look a bit false almost, but just really building up the volume is what I like to do. And then I take this on the bottom lashes too, and as I mentioned in my other video as well, I found this really doesn't smudge on me at all, which is just amazing because most mascaras do. So I've gone a little bit smokier on the eyes than I think I intended to, so I'm going to go for a subtle lipstick, and this is the Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick in Pink Cognito, and this is one that I actually mentioned in my haul as well, and they just have the smoothest formula. They're kind of like a balm almost. They're not super pigmented, but they give a nice little tint of colour, and I think that's nice sometimes to just have a more natural looking lip. So you can even sort of apply this without looking in the mirror, which is nice because it can be thrown in the bag and taken away with you. And that is my makeup done, so I hope you enjoyed watching this video and getting ready with me, and I will see you all soon.